You're listening to the VBMA podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of our VBMA podcast. Today, I'm so happy to be joined by Emily Davis and Carson VanCampen, and we are going to be talking about what the heck a regional leader even is, why you should be a regional leader, and how it's benefited our two guests here so far in their careers.
Hi, Jasmine. Thanks for having me. I'm Carson VanCampen. I'm a fourth year at the University of Florida, and I was a regional leader in the year of 2023, so during my third year of school. And now in my fourth year, I'm serving as the 2024 National VBMA Compliance Director.
Hi, guys. I'm Emily Davis. It's nice to chat with all of you. I'm a fourth year at Cornell right now. I'm currently serving as a regional leader for the year of 2024. I'm the Heartland regional leader. Go Heartland. I love being a regional leader. I cannot emphasize that enough. I think it's a great opportunity for everyone that's a part of the VBMA to at least consider while you're a student here.
I'd love to just ask, because a regional leader is something that's so unique to the VBMA, and I know a lot of our members just have no idea what a regional leader is. How would you define the role of a regional leader within the VBMA?
So a regional leader, they have a lot of jobs. There's 38 chapters right now in VBMA, and as schools keep getting added, there'll be more and more chapters. So that's a lot of students and a lot of members for one national board to keep on top of. The national board is all students, so being a vet student's a full-time job, and then being on the national board is like a second full-time job. A regional leader's primary goal is to get to know the schools in your region really well, to have great relationships with those schools, to be their main point of access to ask questions, to inquire, to get new ideas, to brainstorm, to be innovative. A regional leader is kind of just there to be support in whatever way the chapters need help with. And honestly, from year to year, what they need help with could be very different. And between each school, their needs can be really different. So it's a unique opportunity, and you never know what experiences you're going to get out of it, but all experiences are really helpful in problem solving and in life in general.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that real fast, it is a great opportunity to grow in communication and leadership skills. In a sense, you get to work with people that you probably wouldn't cross paths with otherwise, unless you became really big in the field and got to meet more people. But the really cool thing about being a regional leader is that your region will more than likely not be where you're immediately from or even the school you go to. So I really love that because I go to UF. I'm from Florida. I went to undergrad in Georgia, so I'm used to being in the South, but I'm more familiar with the Southern universities. And when I was a regional leader, I was the Great Lakes regional leader. So I got to meet people at Wisconsin and Michigan State and the schools up in that area like Illinois and Purdue and Ohio State. So it was really awesome getting to know people in that area where I wouldn't normally get to. And I got to learn their way of communicating and be a connecting piece to the national board, which is really helpful because, like Emily said, being on the board is basically a second full-time job. And we all are here for the same goal, which is to bring high quality business education to veterinary students that might not have it in their curriculum directly. And so this is just a really fun way to grow in skills, more of like the softer skills like leadership, communication, empathy, compassionate collaboration, those types of things that you don't always get to learn during your clinical training at school, like depending on what your school emphasizes. So it's just a really cool way to grow in other ways while building camaraderie with people that you might not really get to hang out with otherwise.
You mentioned that you were a Great Lakes regional leader, which doesn't really exist anymore. Emily, I know as the 2023 vice president, this was your baby. Can you talk a little bit about what happened between 2023 and 2024?
Yeah, this was an exciting project I came up with when I was the vice president last year. Like I had said before, vet schools are popping up. There'll be more VBMA chapters in the near future. And when I was thinking about it and looking at it and reflecting on how the regional leaders last year were doing, it felt like it was a lot of work for one person to be in charge of 7, 8, 9 chapters at once. So I thought it would be a good idea to add a new region so that way the regions were smaller. And the point of this, or the goal of this, was so that way each regional leader can have a better relationship with each of their chapters and can get to know each of their chapters more and do the best they can with the chapters they have, as opposed to spreading themselves more thin. So last year there was 6 regions. This year there's 7 regions with new names that I thought were fun. And yeah, so I think that that's helped a lot this year with the different regions having more communication, more one-on-one time with their regional leaders. And as a regional leader now, I can say that I have 7 chapters in my region, which is the largest region right now. And I think that having more would have been really tough. I think that having the relationships that I do now with my chapters and the officers there would not be the same if I had additional chapters. So another benefit to having an additional region added this year is geographically, the regions are smaller. And so that helped promote regional summits, which is something that is really important for officers, I think, to be able to plan. The national board and regional leaders get a lot of work with planning big nationwide events. And I think that that really helps in leadership and growth and development as being a member of the VBMA. So now having geographically closer regions that are smaller, they're able to have in-person summits or at least bigger, more collaborative summits because they're in smaller groups.
Carson, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think Emily did a great job.
Great. Yes. And I will add that time zones, when all the chapters are in the same or similar time zones, it does help. One challenge on the national board that I have is time zones, and trying to plan Eastern things with Pacific things don't always mesh well when you're on a vet student schedule.
Very true.
So we mentioned a lot about what a regional leader does, but I want to hear from you specifically, Carson, if you wanted to start us off. What was your most favorite thing about being a regional leader?
My most favorite thing about being a regional leader was getting to build relationships with the chapter officers of the schools that I got to work with, but also building more relationships with the VBMA national team. I had a great time with the 2023 board and my fellow regional leaders. Lots of positive, fun memories, really awesome people. And it was really fun seeing people that are veterinary students, but also very interested in personal and professional growth, whether it's business skill related or the leadership communication stuff that I was mentioning earlier. There's just a lot of opportunity with the VBMA at any level, and being on the national level is just a very, very cool opportunity for networking, relationship building, and it helped me broaden my scope of what my experience in vet school is, because Jasmine, you go to CSU, and so I probably wouldn't have worked with you since I go to UF if I didn't get to do these types of things on the national VBMA. Same with Emily. Like, I've gotten to work with you now for the past 2 years, and it's been so fun. And you go to Cornell, which is so far and basically in the Arctic. I wouldn't have been able to do these things without the VBMA, or specifically the national level. So being a regional leader just kind of opens a lot of doors, because you get to help with the national meeting and run that, and you get to meet all sorts of really cool professionals. And so I'm a person that just loves building relationships with different people with different lived experiences and passions. And this is just a really, really great way to do that as we essentially, quote unquote, build our brand while we're going through vet school.
I couldn't agree more with Carson. I love getting to meet students specifically. It's amazing. I feel like at this point, when I graduate, I will know someone in almost every state, another veterinarian that I could reach out to and ask for help at any time, and I would be able to find a hand somewhere, which is a really great experience and really comforting to know that I have that support. But another thing that I have really loved being a regional leader is watching the growth and development in people that are officers in my region. My region's currently planning their summit, and when they first started in their first meeting, they weren't sure where to get going. They weren't sure what angles to start at, and they needed some sort of groundwork. And so I helped them a lot in the beginning to give some ideas, talk about what past summits have done. And at this point, they hardly need me. I've been watching them just grow and develop this big summit that they're super excited about, and the energy that's in our meetings that we have every month or so is really exciting. And I can't wait to see their hard work and success pay off in just about a month now. So that's been a pretty magical experience.
Wow, that's so exciting. I'm glad you're able to kind of foster that with your officers, because sometimes that can be difficult with schools that don't really know each other. So that's just really exciting that everyone has that level of shared excitement for the summit. And Jasmine, have you talked about summits before on this?
We've briefly mentioned summits, but you are more than welcome to refresh all of our memories.
Okay, so for the people that are new to VBMA or just don't really know what a summit is, essentially each region gets to, if they want to, put together an event that can be days or one day or however long. And it is basically just different lectures from awesome speakers, and you can get BCP credit for them if you're in your region. And you get to just hang out, collaborate. There's some networking events. Depending on what each region does for their summit, it's totally up to them. So every summit could look very different. A lot of people are trying to do in-person summits now. I've been a part of virtual and in-person summits. So there's a lot of variability. So sticking around the VBMA each year of vet school would be really awesome, because you get to see the different opportunities that each officer team or group might present as a member, which is really exciting. But there's also always probably fun things like prizes, and if it's in person, I'm sure there's free food. So it's just a really great way to get together and mingle and learn stuff about business.
Yeah, it's great. And side note, you can attend summits that are not your region, but you just can't get BCP credits for it. But it's still great for networking and getting to know other professionals and other students, which will be your colleagues in just a few years.
Oh, yeah. The bummer is you won't get BCP credit if you go outside of your region, but it still would be a great opportunity, like Emily said. Yeah. And being a regional leader or participating at all in the VBMA is a really, really smart move in terms of your professional growth, because if you are someone that is more introverted or a little bit more quiet, but you have big goals of internship, residency, kind of just doing any part of this field, you need to develop those communication skills and being a little bit more comfortable in the uncomfortable. So trying to do something like being on the national team or even a VBMA officer at your local chapter could be a great way to start building those skills, just be in a more controlled environment since you're at school and you're networking in a more a smaller circle. And so I would just encourage you to kind of step out of your comfort zone a little bit and try and grow in those ways before you get tossed out after graduation and you have to speak with these giant names at different conferences or even your job interviews or even just talking to clients and convincing them that your treatment plan is the ideal treatment plan and they are MDs themselves and might not have an idea or what have you. Everyone does different things, but it's a great way to challenge yourself and grow in ways that you just might not get to. I think I've said that a million times. like the same type of sentence. It's perfect.
I think only a couple of times. I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, getting comfortable in that uncomfortable space has certainly been a challenge for me. And now here I am making podcasts every single month. It's super exciting and getting to learn how to do different things and different skills. The marketing director role is something that I didn't envision myself in, but I've been so glad and so honored to be a part of so I could learn so many different skills. When I was applying to be the marketing director, applying for the national board is a bit different than applying to be a regional leader, but my main goal was to learn, grow, network, and I really liked the idea of planning national meeting, something that I loved doing, and I'm so happy to be helping 2025 to do. What were your goals and inspiration to apply to be a regional leader?
Well, for me, I attended the national meeting when I was the Cornell vice president on my local chapter board. And I didn't really realize that VBMA was like a national organization and it was as big and as impactful as it is. So I showed up to Orlando for the national meeting. I was there with my group of people from Cornell. And on day one, that evening when we had like our first networking event, I was like immediately blown away. I was shocked by how many students were there. I was shocked that there was students from like every school in the country, including the island schools like St. Kitts and St. George's. It was just amazing. I was speechless. And from there, I was really inspired. I came back after the national meeting and I had so many ideas and a lot of great things to bring back to my board that I pursued. And then I kept thinking that I wanted to do more and I wanted to be a bigger part of the VBMA. So I ended up applying for the national board first just because that was the next application cycle that was up when I had this inspiration. I had that position. It was amazing on the national board. I highly recommend that to many people as well. And then afterwards, I still wanted to do more in a different way, which the RL position allows you to do a lot of things that are very different from the national board. Being on the national board, I really enjoyed talking to students a lot. I enjoyed networking with my peers that were going to be my colleagues one day. And the RL position is exactly what that gives you. I love being a regional leader. I get to talk to students every day that are from schools that are not my own. And my goal in being an RL was just to continue building relationships with future colleagues of mine.
Yeah, that was very nicely said. I feel similarly, except you and I have flipped experiences, Emily, where I was an RL last year and now I'm on the board this year. And both are very different. I also recommend those positions. To be completely honest, I think I enjoyed being a regional leader a tiny bit more than being on the board because I had way more direct contact with the officers of my schools regularly, and I thrive on those types of things. I've had a great time being on the national board as the compliance director because I still get to interact with officers. It's just in a slightly different area of conversation where it's more like good standing requirements and things like that. But the compassionate collaboration is still very much there, which I love. And my national board members are so fun and so great. And same with the regional leader team. Like, y'all are the best. And I can't wait to be friends with you guys after school because most of us are graduating soon. But yeah, my inspiration for being a regional leader, very similar to Emily's, was just build relationships, build my network, and help people in ways that they might not know they need help with. And I have my MBA, actually. I got it before vet school, so I do have a little bit more business background. And so I felt like I was able to bring some of those skills to my officers if they needed it, which was really cool. And similarly, it is hard being a vet student, but it is even harder trying to run a nationwide organization or even your local chapter because you have to coordinate these meetings. It's with folks that are mostly larger names in the field, so coordinating with them can be difficult with their very busy schedules. And so I totally applaud our officers for their hard work and keeping their local chapters going because it is no small feat to be able to make all of these things happen. And so being a regional leader, I was very lucky to have all very attentive and eager officers. And that made my job really exciting and really fun because it showed me that they cared about the VBMA and their chapter goals as much as I did. And so that kind of reinforced the passion that I have for VBMA, as well as just really emphasized our purpose, which is to bring different business opportunities for students that enjoy business. And VBMA is not for everybody. There's a misunderstanding sometimes or misconception that it's just for practice owners or people that aspire to be practice owners. And I think our groups have done a really fabulous job over the past few years showing that it's more than that and it's way bigger than that. And so it's really, really sweet seeing all of the officers kind of buy into that mentality and start bringing in speakers that offer different levels of education. And some people are even focusing more on the leadership communication stuff, like the fluffier stuff than like the finance stuff, which is, I love that. Like that's what I enjoy the most. So it was just really awesome seeing how the officers worked together and brought really, really great things to their members. And it really made it all worthwhile seeing them be as excited about things as I was.
Oh, you're just a fabulous person, Carson. So mushy.
I know. It's all mostly emotional.
It's mostly mush. Speaking of greater impacts that the VBMA can have, I was curious from both of your perspectives, what has been something as a regional leader that you can say, I've done this and it's impacted the veterinary profession as a whole in this way, in this big way that I probably would not have been able to do as a vet student or even just a VBMA member?
That's a really great question, Jasmine.
Yeah. I feel like for me, the most impact I've given to my community, both at Cornell and on the national level, I feel like the impact that I've made most has been with just allowing people to step outside of their comfort zones. You know, they talk about how like there's a green zone and then like the yellow zone. And like if you stay in the comfort zone, you can't allow yourself to grow. So you have to push yourself to be like in that yellow zone, which is like your more uncomfortable area. And that's where you find your most growth. So I've inspired people to put this summit together for the Heartland region, or to apply to be a regional leader, or to apply to be on the national board, or to do things like at Cornell on a more local level. Just by telling someone that I think they'd be good at something makes them more confident to be able to step out of their comfort zone and to try something new that they thought they might not be good at, and they just needed someone to reassure them. And it's nice to see people follow through on whatever it is that is their goal, and then they accomplish that and they achieve great things and are successful. And I like to watch that happen.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's such a selfless answer in such a wonderful way. Carson, your turn. Make me cry.
I'm emotional.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Emily, I think you're one of like the best encouragers that I've encountered. And I know I can always come to you and get some sort of hype and at least like understanding and a great listening ear. So I think that you're perfect for this job because you have lots of experience and perspectives. And I think that you're just a really great communicator and friend to have. So thanks for being here as a regional leader. Jasmine, I'm not sure yet if I have really impacted veterinary medicine on a large scale, but I think as a regional leader or as a compliance director, I'm not one to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty sure I'm the first person at UF to ever be on the national VBMA team or board. And so it was really cool because some of the officers this year, when I met them at national meeting, they mentioned, or at least one of them mentioned, that they might be interested in being a regional leader. And that's just really fun because it kind of helps UF get out there a little bit more, because our VBMA chapter was always relatively smaller because UF has a business certificate, which is essentially a business management minor. It's part of our professional certificate programs that we have. So we basically can get like a mini veterinary business MBA essentially through the UF program. So not a lot of people put the work into being in the VBMA because we're very lucky to have this extra set of classes and experiences. So it's been fun to impact my community in a smaller scale. I mean, I'm saying that like maybe it hasn't happened. I don't know, but I don't really know exactly if I've done much on the bigger scheme of things. My answer is not as great as Emily. I think I'd just try and encourage people like Emily, but also, I don't know, vet school is like not that deep. And so it's a fun way to tap into some new passions while you're in a very controlled environment and new hobbies and things like that with business type stuff, because it is very fun to learn. And no matter what position you have in a practice or academic setting, or literally wherever you go after vet school, you're going to have to know business to some degree. Like even on the NAVLE, there's business questions.
I've got to say, Carson is like the biggest cheerleader I know. She can make anyone smile. She's like a ray of sunshine in any room or any virtual room.
Thanks.
That's how you inspire the veterinary community.
Thanks.
Nationally, on a national level.
Thanks. I can thank Barry Volleyball for making that be how my brain works.
And Carson, I can toot your horn for you. So I know for a fact that as a regional leader, your impact on the VBMA and the veterinary profession as a whole was to teach that collaborative communication and to teach compassionate communication as well. I know during the 2023 national meeting, I was CSU chapter president and I had attended. And at that time, the national board had decided that they were going to do small group exercises. So we'd have a keynote speaker and then get into smaller groups and do reflections on them. Carson was the wonderful regional leader at my table who helped to lead those sessions. And without her input, I don't know that I would think about, this is going to sound horrible, but think about other people in the same way and to try to always see things from a different perspective, which going forward as a practicing veterinarian, putting myself in my client's shoes is a lot easier after getting to know Carson. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who is able to do that because you were a regional leader at the time.
Oh my God, that's wild. Is it bad that I like have no memory of that?
No, you told me that before.
I don't know. Thank you. That's really nice to say. I love doing reflective session things like that. Like when the 2023 board said that we got to do that and had specific questions we got to go through, I was so excited because this is similar to what my college volleyball coaches did with us as a team so that we could grow together and learn how to communicate better and just be better women students than athletes. It tapped into my passions perfectly. And so I'm glad that we got to have that, even though I'm so sorry. I don't remember that. I think I was nervous leading these types of things because I haven't really led them before, but I knew that it would have been a really fun moment of growth for me. But thanks. That's really nice.
You're welcome. So now we got everybody hooked. What advice would you consider giving to somebody who is thinking about taking on a regional leadership role?
Don't let time scare you. So many people don't want to commit themselves to a year of being a regional leader or on the national board because there's not enough time in the day. Although sometimes that feels true, it's always possible. If you're really passionate about the VBMA and about being a vet student, you can do both. It is not easy during your fourth year, as all three of us could attest to, but all three of us also really care about VBMA. So we find the time to be able to do our responsibilities and meet our obligations of our positions. So don't let time scare you. Apply. If you get the position, then you make it work. And you have a whole team behind you. So if 1 week is really crazy and you don't have time to do whatever it is you need to do, you have a team to lean on. And everyone's there to help you out because everyone on your team also cares about the VBMA and also cares about vet school. And we all understand each other because we're all going through it together.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of like that thing where people want to adopt pets and you're like, oh my gosh, is it time? Is it not time? There's never a right time. You just kind of do it and you jump all the way in and it is really fun. And it's always those things that you least suspect to be the most rewarding. And like, sure, there's a time commitment, but also you're in vet school. So how could you make it even harder? Like you can't. And so just doing this is a fun extra little token of joy that you get to add to your vet school experience. And when you're done with vet school, you more than likely won't have another experience like the VBMA again, unless you pursue something like an MBA or get to hopefully one day be a speaker for VBMA things. Like that'd be really sweet. This is just a really cool way to beef up your extrovert skills if you're an extrovert, or a really great way to learn how to be a better active listener or build relationships with people that might operate differently than you. And so if you are looking for some good personal growth while also helping others with servant leadership, then this is a place for you. And if you applied last year and are not on the regional team this year, every team is different and every team is looking for different personalities. And so maybe this will be your year. So I would say, try again. And there's nothing wrong with giving it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, then that's okay too. There's a reason for everything. So just trust your gut and jump in the deep end, because you can do like more flips and stuff in the deep end. You'll bonk your head in the shallow end. So there's more fun activities in the deep end.
I've got to add one thing. You don't have to be on your local chapter's board to apply to be a regional leader or to apply to be on the national board. Any member of the VBMA can apply, and it shouldn't scare you that you haven't been on your local board before. Every year there's a handful of some students that are on the national board or on the RL team that were not officers at your local chapter, and it doesn't make a difference. Everyone is just as eligible for the position.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I highly encourage everybody who is even considering applying to just apply. Just full send it and see what happens. This is an opportunity to do within the VBMA that you can only do in vet school, because the VBMA is 100% vet student led, 100% vet student run, and you will never get another opportunity to do this outside of vet school. So do it now. Enjoy it now while you can.
Yeah. The VBMA has been my favorite part of vet school.
Same. I couldn't imagine doing vet school any other way.
Agreed. Couldn't have said it better.
Well, thank you both again for joining me and talking about all the fun things that you guys have done and are continuing to do. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close off today? I got great mental images of Carson just rolling around in the deep end of a pool.
Doing flips.
Don't take life too seriously. Stay goofy.
Yeah, that's true. Ride that lightning,
Exactly.
Vet school's short. Might as well fill it with VBMA and different ways to stuff more information into your brain. Stay positive. Encourage your friends. It's not that competitive, and if you make it competitive, then that's kind of lame. Live, love, laugh, VBMA.
Put that on a sticker.
Literally. Jasmine's the best podcaster I've ever met.
Oh, thanks. Well, thank you guys so much, and I hope you both have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Jasmine. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.